today? Okay. Thank you everyone for joining today. I'm Faraz from Vertex 360, and this is Cheska. She's my EA. She's helping us organize and put together these series of webinars. So how we came about with these webinars was that we were getting a lot of questions. A lot of people are very, very tempted these days with all the changes going on in NDIS sector. As you know, about 2 years ago, the NDIS went through a 10-year review, and since then, the laws have changed. The government said they will implement those changes in over 5 years. 2 years have passed and nothing concrete really has happened. So it's creating a lot of uncertainty in the market and creating a lot of confusion as to when those changes are happening, if they're happening or they're not happening, and etc. So I thought I'll give you guys an update on what's happening in the sector and take you through what has happened or what has actually started to happen, and then we can have a informal discussion. So these webinars, they're not going to be very formal. They're going to be very, just casual and informal. The idea is to bring together providers in a safe space where we can discuss what's going on. We are going to make these webinars very much informative though, so it's not a waste of your time. We have plans to invite lawyers, auditors, marketers, accountants, all the professions you guys work with on day-to-day basis in these webinars over the next few weeks. So at the end of the webinar, I will share the next week's topic as well. And then the whole series of webinars will also be uploaded on our website. So you guys can register for the webinar that particularly interests you. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll quickly share my screen and then we will go through the agenda for today. 1 second. Now, if anyone of you need to stop me to ask any question, feel free to do so. Don't wait for the end. We can have a very engaging discussion. Or if you feel more comfortable, we can discuss in the end. No problems at all. Okay. All right. So this is, let me just go view. Here. There you go. Okay, so today's topic is NDIS is shifting. What new providers need to know. So I'm expecting most of you are new providers in the sector. You have entered the market in, say, last 12 months, and you're trying to figure out all the compliance that you need to now implement. Obviously, most of you may have gone through audits in the past, and you may have already explained to auditors how you will run the business, but now you're registered or you're approved, and now you're practically running the business. Or even if you're not registered yet, that's fine. You're still in the right space. This is where we can discuss all the compliance and legal issues you should be aware of. So once you start operating, you're doing the right thing. So like I said, the 10-year review has been going on for a couple of years now, and there's a bit of uncertainty in the market. People are a bit concerned when those changes are coming. Some of the things have actually started happening already. So one of them has been the registration maintenance that the NDS Commission is doing now. So about a year ago or 2 years ago, the NDIS Commission was a little bit lenient. If you missed your renewal dates or midterm audit dates, it wasn't a big deal and they will easily give you extensions. However, now, if you ask me, in last 6 months, the Commission has become very firm and very stringent in ensuring that you follow the midterm audit dates and renewal audit dates. And pretty much if you miss your date, in a week's time, you'll get a warning letter. And if you don't book the audit within that time they allow you, you're going to get a revocation notice, which means you lose your license and then you have to go to tribunal or re-register as a new applicant. So it's very, very important now that you maintain the registration and follow the midterm and audit dates. I guess the reason why they're doing this is there's a lot of providers out there who have licenses, but they're not actively operating businesses. So NDIS is concerned about how many inactive providers are out there, and they want to know the exact number of operating and active providers. So eventually, when they stop unregistered providers or independent support workers, they can actually they actually know how many providers are out there who can actually support, and these are active providers. So very important for all of you to keep a really close eye on your midterm dates and renewal audit dates, so you don't miss out on them. Secondly, as you may have read and noticed in the media, in the newspapers last 2 weeks, especially, I've seen every day there's an article on funding and the budget blowouts in the NDIS sector. So everyone is talking about it. It's in every newspaper that NDIS was intended to support roughly 500,000 participants and be a $22 billion program. However, in reality, now in 2025, NDIS has spent over $48 billion annually, and it's now servicing 700,000 participants or more. So that is not what the government's initial plan was. Their plan, like I said, was to support about 500,000 participants. And what they've realized or unearthed over analysis and data mining is that a lot of participants they originally didn't think will be part of NDIS are now part of NDIS. Specifically, you must have noticed, and they're talking about low level of autism in children, which is a huge issue right now. So the government is introducing a new program called Thrive Kids, and they plan to transfer all the children who have low level of autism into that program. So that is going to be a huge exercise. Operationally, it'll be a big challenge. So we can see why it will take some time. Right now, the government is saying it will happen over the next 12 months. So from 1st July 2026, children with low level of autism will not be getting NDIS plan. That's what the news is right now. Um, Secondly, NDIS is doing a little bit of soul searching and saying, we have to find out who NDIS was originally intended for. And if you read the definition of eligibility of NDIS, it's for people with significant disability who and significant and permanent disability who need supports to do day-to-day living. So this is where towards the end of the rollout last year in 2018-19, they included mental health also in NDIS, but now they're re-looking at that decision. And there's an article in one of the newspapers last weekend, which talked about NDIS excluding participants with some mental health disabilities out of NDIS. I think one of them I read was depression, and there was two other mental health disabilities, which will be sort of excluded from NDIS and pushed towards foundational supports. Now, what is foundational supports? Essentially, NDIS wants to create a more, a complete, cohesive, Australia. They want every business, every mainstream service to be supportive of people with disability, mild disability, and mental health or low level of autism. So essentially, NDIS is going to, although they will remove these participants from NDIS, they are going to ensure that the mainstream services are capable of supporting these participants. So that is going to be foundational supports. So additional supports available in Centrelink, in your banks, in supermarkets, at your dentist, GP. They will all be educated or have more capacity to support people with mild disabilities, hence lowering the pressure on NDIS. That's the plan at least. Lastly, another change that has actually happened already is the Place platform. So if any one of you is supporting participants, you may have noticed NDIS plans have changed a lot the way they look. So they've gone from the old plans to a Pace platform plan. So Place is a new platform which was designed to give more control to the participants they have the power to endorse providers and remove the providers from their portal, which is great. It's great for the participants, give them a lot of control over their funding. However, it's also a challenge for providers such as you guys. So what you need to be very careful here is that now, if you have been delivering services to a participant, let's say for a couple of weeks, and you have not sent your invoices in, and if the participant, for any reason, decommissions you or removes your authorization from the portal, then it will be impossible or very difficult for you guys to claim those invoices. Okay, so it's very important for your cash flow management that you do regular invoicing. Obviously, keep all the evidence for delivering services, have the service agreements in place. So if there is any issue with payments, you can go to NDIS and try to get paid, but it's going to be a bigger challenge. A few years ago, there used to be a clause that participants had to give 1 month notice when they were canceling the supports. Now, technically, that 1 month notice period can still be applied. However, if the participant goes and removes you from the portal, then practically it will be very difficult for you to claim your funds. So this is the change that PACE platform has brought in. Like I said, it's a good thing that participants have more control, but what it means is providers need to be more risk averse and plan their financial setup more carefully and ensure for cash flow they do more regular invoicing and ensure that there's less chances of them being unpaid. So if I'm going too quick, let me know, stop me and ask me questions. Otherwise, we'll go on to the next slide. Okay. Now, as most of you are new providers, this is your day one compliance pack. I'm assuming most of you have maybe one or two participants or no participants at all. So when you start a business, now hopefully you have already done this if you are already operating. But when you start your NDIS business, you need at least these 6 things. Obviously, there's a lot more things you need, but these are the minimum 6 live systems. So firstly, you need to be really good at support planning and intake of your participants. That includes your risk management, that includes your consent forms, the service agreement, all the documentation that you need to fill with the participants. Then you need to have a really good incident management system, whether it's something like Vertex 360 or another system that you're using. But it's very important to have a good incident management system. You need to record all the complaints that you're getting from your participants or families, because that's an NDIS requirement again. Next one, staff screening, very, very important. So with staff screening, if you're the director of the company, and if you hire workers who don't have staff screening, potentially if something goes wrong, you could personally be liable. So very important that you have a complete screening done for your staff. And again, a perfect example is Vertex 360 has a detailed required list of documents that you need from your staff. And if you're using a system like Vertex 360, it will point you in the right direction and tell you what documents you need. So it makes your job really, really easy. Then we'll come to record keeping. Now with record keeping, very becomes almost becomes your second nature when you're using a software like Vertex 360. All your shifts are getting recorded, your intakes are getting recorded, your case notes are getting recorded, incidents, everything is recorded in the software. So if a time comes when NDIS refuses to pay or a participant challenges that your service was delivered, you can pull out all the records in a under a minute, less than a minute, and present in a nicely formatted report format to NDIS or plan managers or support coordinators, right? Plus, very, very important is a lot of people don't know about this, that restrictive practices. Now, with restrictive practices, you must be a registered provider. You cannot operate if you're unregistered. And you have to be registered for Module 2A to be applying restrictive practices. Now, the important thing here is they must be authorized, and you must always try to reduce the use of restrictive practices. And like I said, you need registration. So I won't go into much detail here, but if you do have questions on restrictive practices, it's a very important topic. You can reach out to us via email or via email, and we can help you guys out. If you don't have any questions, I'll go to the next slide. How are we going with time, Cheska?
26 minutes.
Okay. All right. I'll try to rush. So I wanted to wrap this within in half an hour, so I don't take too much of your time. Now, very important, the next topic is market pricing, integrity, and viability. So, like I said before, there is a lot of news right now about payment integrity, about budget blowouts, about some service providers that have been shutting down by NDIS. These were the service providers who are not doing the right thing. And then there are service providers who are shutting down because financially they're not sustainable businesses. So even though they have been around for many, many years, financially they were not sustainable, so they had to shut down. So some big examples are Anecto and Centra, a company in Queensland. So these companies have been around for 40 years or 70 years, but because they were not financially sustainable, they had to shut down. No, important thing here is if you don't have evidence, it didn't happen, right? So very, very extremely important. I can't stress enough for all your shifts, you must have a really robust system like Vertex 360 recording all the shift data. So starting time, end time, the location where the shift happened, any shift notes, it should be all recorded within ideally in an electronic app. If you use paper-based time sheets, it's okay. It's a system, so it is acceptable by NDIS. But as you operate the business, and if you have a vision of growing your business, you gotta start you with a strong foundation. So if you start with the foundation of using paper-based timesheets, you will have a very tough time convincing your staff to use electronic system once you have 15 or 20 or 30 workers. So my advice is start with a strong foundation, use an electronic timesheet system from the beginning. Secondly, the caps on travel and non-face-to-face rules. So I won't go into too much detail here, but just letting you guys know that not many people are aware, but you can claim non-face-to-face supports to participants. It is a little bit technical to explain this. And because we're running out of time, I'll just quickly explain. So essentially, when you're supporting participants, you have office staff who are supporting the participant as well, as in they're doing rostering, they're working with your GP support coordinators on organizing your services. Now, the administrative tasks your staff are doing, like rostering or talking to your support coordinators, that cannot be built. However, if you're office staff or are doing activities that are directly linked to the support that is being delivered, and it is non-face to face, those that time can be built to the participants. So if you want to know more details about this, please reach out to me and I'll explain to you in detail. With travel, they have caps now. So before it was, I think, 1 hour travel cap. Now it's capped to 30 minutes. So very important for you guys to keep this because NDIS is coming really hard on compliance, and especially when it comes to claiming. So then they need a lot of evidence. With travel evidence, our app Vertex 360 tracks the kilometers using Google APIs. So you are certain that these are accurate kilometers and you have something to fall on. So if someone challenges those kilometers, you have the whole journey recorded in the mobile app. So it makes very easy for you to justify the travel. Now, strategy for any new provider these days, the strategy should be to be narrow, quality, and consistent, right? So narrow, essentially, don't try to target every NDIS participant. You gotta pick your speciality. If you have experience in mental health, then you have to stick to mental health. If you have experience in supporting, people with a physical disability, then I would suggest stick to that target because that is something that you have experience in. You know that well. Stick to a narrow strategy. Quality, 100%. So if you are a quality provider or if you are new in the market, you should definitely aim to become a quality provider. This is something that will differentiate you from a provider who has been in the market for many years now. And when they started, obviously 5 or 6 years ago or 10 years ago, I'm sure there would be a quality provider, but you will meet many providers who have been in the or who've been operating for many years now. And although it's not intentional, but it's because they've grown out so much, they may not have great systems. The quality starts to drop down a bit. So as a new provider, if you can, when you get your participants, offer them quality service, and they will definitely stick with you. consistency. So, like I said, if you once you sign up your clients, the first few clients, definitely you will be a quality provider. But as you grow the business, as you get more participants, you must make sure you offer them consistent quality. That is the key. That is what will retain your customers, your participants. This is why they will keep coming back to you because they know they will get consistent quality service from you guys. Okay. Um, just a quick 90-day setup checklist. So scope, out pathway and policy mapping. So very important for you to read the policies and procedures you guys have. So when you are delivering services, they are in accordance with those policies. Next 2 weeks, you should spend on investing in good systems like Vertex 360, making sure you have complete staff files. So when you get a participant, you can readily make the staff available for them. Then a couple of weeks you should be spending on developing some trial files, do some mock with intake participant intake process. It is a quite a lengthy process, so it's a good idea that you do like a mock intake of a participant, and that will get you really confident with the documentation you have to fill, the risk assessments you have to do. So when you actually go out and meet a participant, you look and sound confident and they feel comfortable coming to your services. And finance setup, like I said, is going to become more and more important to have a really good finance setup because NDIS is constantly coming hard on getting evidence from service providers. Now, recently, some examples we have seen, NDIS is actually asking for pay slips of your support workers to justify the service was delivered as evidence to service was delivered, right? So it's really, really important to have a really good finance system like Zero, QuickBooks, or MyOb, where you are recording all the timesheets and pay slips are getting generated. So if NDS asks you for evidence, you can quickly give them the evidence, right? And then after that, management review and log KPIs. So with your KPIs, either if they're for yourself or for your staff, it's a really good idea you set up KPIs. If you need help with setting up KPIs, reach out to us. We can help you with KPIs, setting KPIs for your staff and management reviews. So annually, you should do an internal audit, perhaps to review the performance of the management. That is a requirement of NDI standards, and also it's a really good self-check. As a small business, you may be thinking you're doing everything perfectly right, but when you go through an internal audit, you get to find out where are the gaps in the business. Now, the great thing is with Vertex 360, when you do sign up to a platinum package, you get one free internal audit built into your package, right? So one of our qualified consultants, they will come and do your internal audit, so you get a really good review of your performance. Okay. Now, I'll open the floor. You guys have been so quiet, so thank you very much. But I'll open the floor now to any questions you guys have, which I can try to answer.
By the way, thank you guys for attending. I guess we do have two support workers that have opened their NDIS businesses just recently that reached out to us. Ray and Kate, do you have any questions so far? Thank you for attending. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a wonderful session for us. I just have a quick question though. What counts as unacceptable evidence for non-face-to-face billing?
Yep, 100%. So look, like I said, now non-face-to-face is quite a technical area to operate in. So you have to be very careful that you're not just claiming rostering time or time that you spend talking with the support coordinator or time you spend on writing reports. It's not your general admin tasks. They cannot be claimed. You only the time that you spend on actual service delivery of a participant. So, for example, if a participant requires high care services and you spend time in organizing a high care management plan for the participant, and you spend time on explaining that high care plan to the support staff of the participant, that could be claimed as non-face to face. Now, the evidence that you will require is a very detailed case note, where you explain, let's say you are claiming half an hour. So that case note should explain how that half an hour was spent in explaining the high care management plan or the related content that you are claiming. It should explain how that was spent. Secondly, it should also that case note or the evidence should also have in it that why or how was this the best value for money for the participant. So it's a requirement from NDIS that when you are spending participants' funds, they have to be the best value for money for the participants or the use of the participants' funds. So you need to justify why that half hour is a really good. Now, example could be like if you're spending every day, you're spending half an hour to explain that high care plan to the workers. That's obviously not a good use of the funds. If you're doing once a month or once a quarter, then it is a good use of funds. So this is the kind of evidence you need to justify non-face-to-face.
I see. Yep, makes sense. Thank you.
No worries.
For us, I have a question. Great talk, by the way. Just regarding audits, if NDA audits a claim, what documentation should be ready within 24 hours?
Oh, that's a great question, Alistair. So, and this is where Vertex 360 will really shine and will really help you guys. So, when NDIS auditors come in, or obviously if it's a scheduled audit, I'm assuming you're asking about a scheduled audit. So they will, depending on which audit you're going through, if it's a midterm or renewal, but let's just say you're going through your renewal audit, they will go through the whole standard from right from the participant rights all the way to the safe environment. So they will go through all your participant files, your staff files, your registers for incidents, your risks register, all the management meetings you've had. They will even look at your shift notes now. They will even look at the invoices that you have been generating to the participants now. They will look at all your complaint logs, the feedbacks you're getting from the participants. So it's a thorough check of each and every element of your business. Now, it's great that you have, let's say you have 5 or 10 participants, and the auditors ask you for a feedback, and you say, oh, look, our participants love us. They're so happy with us. They never complain to us. Now, you may be thinking that's a great the great response or great service that you're offering, that none of your participants ever complain, but the auditor will look at differently. The way the auditors look at that is that perhaps that you haven't made the complaint forms available to the participants, that they are able to make a complaint, right? So you should always have evidence in place that you have made the complaint available to the participants through either phone number or on your website or physically giving them a form. And even though you have given them the complaint forms, you haven't received any complaints. That is a complete evidence of you not receiving any complaints. If you show um, a blank feedback form, a register or complaint register, it's not necessarily a good thing. Is that what I'm trying to get to, right? Then obviously with the shift notes and timesheet data, if you have a system like Vertex 360, it makes it really simple for you. So you don't actually need to get worried before the audit. Everything is there in the system. Most likely you will be approving the timesheets on a daily or weekly basis. So you're collecting evidence on the go. Okay.
Great. Thanks for answering my question. Yeah.
No worries.
I have one more for us. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, what's the fastest way to build an evidence index for our first audit?
Yeah. So look, the evidence that you will need, like I said, will be in all different forms, right? So there will be evidence for your staff files, there will be evidence for your invoices, there will be evidence for your timesheets, there's evidence for your risk registers, there's even evidence of having management meetings, whether they're monthly or quarterly, depending on the size of your business. So the golden rule is if the NDS auditors come to you and they ask you for any evidence, if you cannot show them, then they won't accept that evidence, right? They really need to see something. If you explain to them how you have been meeting regularly and recording all the notes and acting on those issues, unfortunately, they will not accept it. They want to see the minutes of those meetings to justify that the meeting actually took place. If
Mm,
you just explain to them that, look, when we go and meet participants, we explain them all the rights and everything, that's great, but they will not accept it. They want to see a brochure or something you've given them, and they have in physical form, so the participants have been informed of their rights. And not just that, they want to see an acknowledgement where the participants sign off that I've received this information and I understand this information, right? So that's the kind of evidence. If you can't show it to the auditor, they will not accept it.
I see. Yep. Thank you.
No worries. Okay, so if that's all the questions you guys have got, what I'll do is I'll quickly just explain to you our a webinar for next week. So just a tagline here. So from $35 an hour, you build your compliance backbone. You guys, I will highly recommend you book a demo on our website, and one of our competitive, sorry, one of our very one of our sales team members will take you through the demo of the software and explain the whole software to you. Now, next week's topic, we have Asad from Amana Legal presenting legal obligations for NDIS providers. The topics they will cover are your legal responsibilities as a director, importance of employment contracts, and risk management strategies to avoid legal, and also understanding payment integrity audits. So very, very important topic next week, and I hope to see you guys again. And yeah, if there's no more questions, I think we'll just call it a day.
Thank you.
Thank
No
you
worries.
very
Thanks for
Thank
much,
you
the
very much
talk.
for joining us
and
today.
don't forget to check our website www.vertex360.io. Have a great
Yes,
day.
100%. So we'll share the recordings of this on our website,
Mm,
so you guys can record from there as well.
okay. Sounds good.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.